Hi guys! When we decided to travel to St. Lucia, a full life chapter has opened for the future. Now the experience is complete and I will share with you every single piece of it. Just for you to have whatever needed if you decide to go from a country like Romania, for example, into an exotic place like the Caribbean. But not in destinations like Punta Cana or similar, where everybody goes because they're aggressively advertised by some random tourism agencies. Neither to a five-star resort, of course, like many present available in St. Lucia. We didn't choose a resort for two main reasons. First, because of the huge price, of course, and second, because we really wanted to experience the island at its full in our 12 nights stay there. Staying at a resort, which I do recommend in different circumstances, details with details at the end, might be an option, but it was not the case for us. We decided to accommodate near the international airport of Hevanora, Viewfort, or Gateway to Heaven. You'll find out if you can call St. Lucia heaven or not. Just let me walk you through it step by step. So let's go. The flight, price, and tips for St. Lucia. If you want to go from a country like Romania, as said, has basically no direct link with any country that counts except some low costs where you travel with many low quality people, you have a single option. Take a Wizz Air flight from Bucharest Otopeni Airport to London Gatwick, and from there you can fly directly to Hevanora. It is the only direct flight from Europe to St. Lucia I know of. The good news is that it is daily, or it was when we did travel there. Our trip started in March 5th with a night of layover in England after a 3-hour flight from Romania. At 10 a.m., the Boeing 777 departed to the Caribbean, and after less than 9 hours more, close to 8 hours actually, we landed there. And in 15 minutes after the security check, we were driven to our host in Viewfort, Moula Chic Lorraine, the name of the lady who owns a piece of paradise, can be found there. The taxi trip was very short as the airport is at the edge of the 5,000 inhabitants village and it costs roughly 15 USD dollars. This is because our host organized that, so we have a kind of discount, so the start was good. To be more specific here, it is the only international airport from St. Lucia and it is in the exact opposite side compared to the capital, Castries. You don't have to do anything with Castries, the capital city of St. Lucia. This is very important to remember. I'm mentioning about Castries because our initial expectation were to find the biggest airport there, but in the capital city the runway is too short for big airplanes and it is usually used for small aircrafts coming from the other Caribbean countries, and so therefore the US, Canada and Europe flights go to Viewfort. The flight back was at 20:05 p.m. on 18th of March after 12 nights spent on the island and after a day spent in London. At 21:35 p.m. 19th of March, we took back the flight to Bucharest and at around 3 a.m., some slight delay of course, Wizz Air brought us back home. The night return flight from St. Lucia to London Gatwick was slightly shorter because of the Atlantic Ocean currents at around 7 hours and a half. It has around 1 hour lower in terms of duration. Now I'm mentioning from the beginning the return flight because I want to make a short summary of the airplane itinerary. So what about the expense for going by air from Bucharest to St. Lucia? So there were two tickets at 133 USD each, round trip with Wizz Air, a Hungarian low-cost company from Bucharest to London Gatwick. We got a pretty good offer, and for this money we had priority, which means 2 cabin bags and 1 check-in bag up to 23 kilos. We had only one both though, and you will learn that for our trip that was actually useless. Regardless, for 2 bags in the cabin we will have paid the same price without check-in luggage anyway. Apart from this, 2 tickets each of 790 USD, basically almost close to 800 USD each. A round trip with British Airways Group 7, you should remember, basically the lowest budget. Felt it at my feet though, from London Gatwick to Havana. For this money we had only 1 checked-in bag and 2 cabin bags. The price was accordingly, I mean 1 ticket lower and 1 higher, but I have made an average to make it easier for you to calculate and understand. Here we have the resume per person. So Bucharest St. Lucia with 1 layover, 923 USD. So the plane trip cost in total around 1846 USD. The minimum price we could find at it was a very good bargain. Now let's go to the accommodation. First, Gatwick. We wanted to explore the island at its depth, so for a 2 weeks vacation it was merely impossible to stay at the resort, and it wouldn't have made sense also. The idea was not to travel 12 hours just to stay on a beach and get all the food and drinks you can get, and maybe take some trips. This didn't make any sense for this kind of experience, and the presentation itself is just for people that think a location like St. Lucia can be visited only if you have tons of money and if you can stay at a resort. Now, speaking about the accommodation, I am getting back a bit to Gatwick because we decided to stay 1 night there on the outskirts of London to be rest for the long flight from the next morning. The price for a very convenient and cozy room was 96 USD approximately. Not very cheap indeed, but very necessary. Location, Gatwick Tourette Guest House. You can find, of course, a link in the description because the full article I'm presenting you orally here, it's down in the description. A piece of paradise from St. Lucia. Then the true home for 12 nights piece of paradise from Mola Chic, a high-class neighborhood from Vieux-Fort, very close to the uphill road to the well-known lighthouse from the region, which, not official, it is the second highest lighthouse in the world. Or at least it was, because now it is a wreck. A thing which I don't believe, honestly speaking. Regardless, back to our track. Lorraine, our host, expected us and arranged also the short taxi trip from the airport, and she was very, very welcoming, as already mentioned. On top of this, before our trip, mine, the furthest ever, she helped us with tons of information for us to be able to be as efficient as possible in knowing the island from before getting there. So from the beginning, we had a huge advantage. The house, as you can see, was a white big one in a very quiet place and with a wonderful view from the balcony, which caught both pythons. You will learn later about them, but mostly the gross python, the biggest and the only one easy to climb. The sunsets are also great from a piece of paradise. 12 nights of pure Caribbean experience in St. Lucia. Very important to mention here it is that we arranged our trip via booking.com, and I have chose the room with private bathroom, and at 1 meters square meters. It was very big for a couple that had one intention only: to explore, not to stay too much inside. The accommodation price with uh, the accommodation price was 842 USD for 12 nights. I mean, for the Caribbean, St. Lucia is such a quiet place. It was a wonderful price. Let alone the fact that we were awaited with complimentary snacks, drinks, and lunch, and also with a complimentary breakfast composed out of sweet bread, a local very good cake with we ate a lot in the upcoming days, and fruits and coffee. Now we bought at the point some of our coffees because we drank two big mugs each day. But apart from this, the delicious black beverage was also on the house, alongside with the welcoming host who lives at the bottom floor of the house. Everything was perfect. We had even AC in our room, and it helped in some moments when the temperatures went ballistic. To wrap it up, the accommodation price for the 13 nights trip, one in London Gatwick and 12 in Viewfort St. Lucia, was at around 938 USD, a good and fair price which raises the spine spend of this wonderful holiday to 2784 USD for both of us, which include of course the transportation and the accommodation. Day 1, 6th of March 2023. In the next part of this post, I will present day by day the activities we had in St. Lucia. Don't expect to have the prices as precise as above, but anyway, you should be aware that the most part of the vacation spent consisted from the already mentioned and some excursions which will follow. In the first day, though, arriving at 15:30 local time, we took advantage to fill up with some food and drinks from the center of the village. We already found out that our main source, Massy, a supermarket with the origins from Trinidad and Tobago, were very rich in what offer. The left We left at after 7:15, and our host Lorraine told us, if it gets dark you must take a ride. Now the market was only 2 kilometers down the hill and obviously up, and the return, and we preferred to move our legs a bit, so we did the round trip and bought what was necessary for the evening and managed to return in due time before the sunset. The location seemed very nice, with kind people, a lot of goats and horses eating grass, and a quiet, mostly landscape. In a couple of days, though, we will find a disturbing part of the local reality that brought sense to our host's word. But we will get to that. Now we are drinking some local bounty rum, a great beverage at approximately 8.5 USD and 500 milliliters bottle, and of course watching the moon. Going to day 2, 7th of March 2023, Sandy Beach and Soufrier. We had a clear schedule in our heads but didn't knew 100% the order. So for the second day, what we decided was to take a trip to Soufrier, one of the landmarks of St. Lucia, a small village of less than 3,000 inhabitants, but which lays in the heart of one of the best regions, the region of the two pythons, the emblem of the country. But not just yet, because the first stop of the morning, a mild run to the sandy beach, 2.2 kilometers down the road. Our first day at the St. Lucia beach, we ran, and it was very pleasant to the 3 kilometer stone. Then we thought we should swim a bit, but actually the beach was deserted. No human being was enjoying the mild Atlantic waves, except for two of our three villagers who were washing themselves. That's odd. I have convinced Anka not to enter the ocean because, well, you never know the reasons behind the actual situation. So we just took a walk on the whole length of the sand surface that is what I call romantic. The sun sting us with the ferocious power, and after lying a few more minutes at the shadow of some palm trees, we took a mile round back to Masi, where we bought one or two things and he headed back to the accommodation to change and follow the second half of the plan, visiting Soufrière, meeting the python and the villagers. Because the road to the location is about 45 minutes, 33 kilometers full of curves, but on a decent road comparing to maybe some expectations we had. Since the taxi was not that cheap and since we decided from the beginning to travel a lot, then the public buses were the key. In fact, they were minibuses and they don't have any schedule. They leave when all 15 passenger seats are full. We didn't express too many problem with this, as normally each time they departed in maximum 20 minutes, and Vieux-Fort was one of the main stations of the island, and so was Soufrière in this case. A ticket for this trip is 7x CD, which means around 2.3 USD or something like this. A very good deal, and one very important thing to mention is that the drivers didn't try for a second to fool us. Even though it was obvious we were tourists, we were foreigners, we weren't from the place. Now getting back to Soufrière, a small but cute town. The difference between a taxi and a minibus is not that big, only the fact that buses stop more, but since we blended into their culture even more was in the end the main takeaway. Important, so for you to know, the vehicles with green plates are buses and the ones with blue plates are taxis. You might want to know before hopping in. Anyway, arrived in Soufrière, we figured out there is not too many things we can do. A tour of the village was, don't know, 20 minutes, some pictures, some short interaction with the locals, and then a go at Hummingbird Beach, where you can see very good the Petit Piton, the key element of the Saint Lucia landscape. A nice beach, the closest to Soufrière, and from there we've learned that about the perspective of two other great beaches, but harder to reach, Anse Chastanet and Sugar Beach. Those two will be mentioned later on. For now, we just filled our mind with the first great impressions about our dream holiday and caught the minibus back to Vieux-Fort. So for this day, with two goals achieved, our expense apart from the groceries was around $11. Very decent, I would say. Day 3, 8th of March 2023, the hike to Gros Piton. The remaining part of the evening was spent on the lovely terrace mentioned before, drinking some fine Piton beer and another glass of local bounty rum, breathing and enjoying the breeze. With much gratitude, we made it here. And so much for the next day's plan, Gros Piton climb. This is the easiest peak from the island to climb, and officially it is the only one allowed to be escalated with a local guide. Unofficially, as heard, you also can go to for Petit Piton or Mount Jimmy. This one is the tallest, but given the hike is far more difficult, and I don't see any use in trying that. Besides, you would pay for those around 100 plus USD just to climb them. For some people, it doesn't mean a huge amount, but for us, it didn't make any sense. So we decided to stick only to Gros Piton, the second highest peak on the island, at around 800 meters. Well, did we just discover a new bug in St. Lucia? Let me get to that. To us sent it, we had our own guide and we paid 50 USD each, 100 in total, of course. This being the tax of tourists, a bit discriminatory considering if you are a local you can pay only half, but in some many ways I can understand their policy. The hike takes on average 4 hours round trip, but we managed to cover it in around 3 hours and 10 minutes, which is a good achievement. Our guide Kino, a youngster, said that this is cool record his record is 1 hour 45. Well, he's a local and looked to be very well equipped physically, so it made sense. The climb itself was very pleasant, not easy though, and very interesting. Kino even showed us a bug that he had never seen before, and he took a picture at it. Even though we were planning to do more things on this day, the climb to Gros Piton was enough. Oh, forgot to mention, the view from the top is not wonderful, especially if it is foggy. You can have a glance of the southeastern part of the island, and that is pretty much of the landscape. In this case, the journey beats indeed the destination. So below you can see the white bug a bit. The difficult road trip to Gros Piton, second highest peak in St. Lucia. On the return, we experience and try to take a bus. Gros Piton is a bit more complicated to reach comparing to other destinations. So when we left Vieux-Fort, we took a bus, but which said he will take us there without stopping for other people. Of course, for some money extra. Initially, a normal ticket would have been 10 XCD, but to be sure, he drives us exactly at the entrance. We paid 60 XCD or around 23 USD both instead of 8. Well, it was a bit of too expensive, but if we took a taxi it would have cost at least double. So in the end, I cannot say I regret I have paid that amount. On our way back though, we walked to a station where we got tired of waiting a bus just for it to pass a couple of minutes after we left. Then after 2 or 3 more kilometers, exhausted by the strong sun and by the climbs, we remained in another station, but minibuses weren't that generous in circulating for the at that hour. At a point, a guy with a small truck offered to give us a lift. Initially, he asked for 60 XCD, but in the end, we have paid 54, which mean exactly 20 USD. Now, we got 2 options, near the driver or in the back. People travel a lot in the back of the trucks on the island. It is common, but if you fall, it is your fault, so I didn't want to make experiments, even though it would have been for sure a memory for life. We discussed with the guide during our 15 kilometers or so trip, and he revealed that he's a caretaker at a local school, and he warned us about the criminality increasing on the island. Now, I remember that the day before, Lorraine, our host, advised us to go to the beach through the main road, not through the fisherman village, a small neighborhood. I'm sharing this information because it is like a puzzle that will make sense later on. Now we are back home, took our daily supplements from Masi and headed to the evening relaxation. I will get back with another part because I don't want to make this story full and to bore you. So bye guys, and I'll be back with the second part of our trip.